Oh my god, hi guys! Thanks for 10k subs and watching my Roblox shorts. And no, I haven't been monetized because I still need that 10 million views or 4,000 watch hours. About my face reveal, I think I've shown them a few times in this channel. I do like recording myself, but I just hate the editing part. It takes too long. That's why I'll just use voice for now. About my future contents, I've actually got some content stored up for y'all for the next 4 months, but dare I say it's not as high effort as this one. And since my traction is more than I expected, I'll try to make myself upload 2 times a week, where one is a shorts and the other one is a long form video, where the long form is also turned into another short, so it's 2 shorts and 1 long form each week. And for the content ideas, this animation was actually supposed to be my last animation for Danny's World, but since you guys like it, I'll make another one. And after that, maybe I'll move on to other fandoms like say Ed's World, Forsaken, BFDS, Sprunky, or if there's any fandom you'd like to request, just comment down below and I will definitely consider it. Okay, so for this 1k and 10k celebration, I'll show you how I make my animations that got over almost 2 million views. This workflow usually takes about 3 days, more if it's more detailed, like the ones that recently got viral. And for the programs that I use Clip Studio Paint X for my art, and I use After Effects for editing and some video effects. So the first step is to your story writing. Since I'm doing it all by myself, I don't really mind about my workflow. I just write what I think works on my group chat, whose member is only me. This is where I put the scenes I want and how it goes throughout the whole video. If you can imagine the shots, actually the better. But I usually hand that over to my next step, and that is storyboarding. This is where I imagine what shots would work best and how I interpret the story writing text into image in general, where the character positions are and how I identify them. Since shorts are under 1 minute, I tend to limit my frame to 30 at max. Unless if I want some scenes to have in-betweening. From there, I usually separate my files so that I could focus on each of those scenes. I don't really have a storyboard example since I directly line art to those same storyboard layers for more efficiency, unless there's in-betweening. But I do have one that I'm working on right now, and y'all are definitely gonna see that hopefully next week, or maybe even the next few days, I don't know. And from there, I could just, look back to my storyboards, and if I see that it's okay to move on, then I could just go on to the next step, and that is line art. If I have in-betweening, then I'm talking about in-betweening the line arts. Otherwise, I mean the keyframe line arts. I use vector layers for sketch because it has one feature that I like the most, that is vector eraser. So if you have overlapping lines like these, you can just clean them up like this. And it actually makes me prefer turning the sketch into line art over drawing the line arts from scratch, since my sketch is quite clean. I rarely have scribbly lines. And this is where I think the most hard part lies on, and that is my layer hierarchy. Because sometimes I want some layer to go in front of the other layers and vice versa, especially when it comes to animating it in After Effects. It must be separated. And turning that one storyboard layer into a layer hierarchy of line art layers can be pretty frustrating. That's why I tend to minimalize it as much as possible. And so for my next step is coloring. This is where I flat color my line art. I always use one tool, so that's why I leave little to like almost no gap so my colors don't bleed out. The more line art you have, the more coloring you need to do. So far, I like this part because it makes me finally be able to see how the hierarchy works instead of these like overlapping lines. But sometimes it would be annoying too, like I have to turn off a layer and it's coloring layer just for me to color the other layers underneath. Oh yeah, and for more accent, I usually add some blush for the skin and sometimes even highlight. But after all that's done, we go to the next step, that is shading. For shading, I actually have love-hate relationship with this because sometimes I like them and sometimes I don't. For shading, I use airbrush, the color purple, and blending mode multiply for shadow because it almost always works. And to top it off for lighting, I use the color yellow and blending mode overlay. But for the color yellow, it has like white accent to it, so it's not like pure yellow. Me using airbrush kind of works over doing like cell shading because sometimes it's harder, especially if I have like in-betweens. And after shading, there goes saving. For each hierarchy, I just named them like A1, A2, and so on for the topmost layer, and B, C, D, etc. the more you go down. For shading, I just use the letter S, and for overlay, the letter O, because I rarely have layer hierarchy that's down to the letter O. This keeps it all lined up nicely when I import them to After Effects. And after that comes the most fun part of this whole like workflow, and that is editing and animation. Compared to editing long videos, I usually love editing animations because like I can really see my layers come together with the flow. To make my image shows up to the beat, I usually hover this timeline and press Control so that each time I drag the timeline, it makes a sound. And from there, I mark the beats so that when I try to put an image corresponding to the beat, I just move like 2 frames back before the mark and put that image there. Because if I put them exactly at the beat, sometimes your eyes catch them like later on and think the beat comes first when it's supposed to be like the other way around. This step sometimes takes long, especially if it needs to be animated by After Effects, which includes like the camera, the characters, and sometimes effects as well. Like for shake and like this white thing happening in this video. The way I edit like definitely needs to like have a video of its own since it would take so long, but let me know if you'd like to see more. And now we'll move on to the next step, and that is exporting, post-prep, and uploading. Meaning, I export the videos from After Effects, and since it's exported in the form of non-MP4, I turn them into MP4 with Handbrake, and it's free by the way. And I rewatch the animation again and see if I can like revise them to make it look more cooler. If it's finalized, I move on to post-prep, which usually like happens the hour right before I'm posting that thing. Post prep is where I put the captions and hashtags in that would boost the SEO of my video so it gets recommended to people who actually want to watch them, which is my target audience that likes Roblox, for example, if it's a Roblox animation. And yeah, from there I just upload them onto my YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, and see like which blows up first. Usually like YouTube like comes first, then TikTok, and the rest just like weird. Like I couldn't even get more than 10 likes sometimes. But oh well, I don't mind. Maybe each platform just like has different audience, and that's what I'll be experimenting from now on. Okay, I think that's all for how I make my animations. I hope you like it, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye!